Texas-shaped frying pans at the Buc-ee's we go to
You're right. I'm just gonna bring a couple empty suitcases. Nothing will be
for
in them
souvenirs.
on the way there.
Exactly. A lot of beaver nuggets. A lot of. If we can steal Bucky, we'll steal him.
Mm. Oh, Busey. That's who you mean. Gotcha.
We're not going anymore. Aaron will go.
Yep.
And then I'm going to kick Johnny off on 75. I'm going to drop you off at a freaking orchard or something.
Deep in the heart of
You'll have
Texas.
a nice,
Just
enough-
whatever,
Sounds nice.
wherever the deep heart of Texas is, that's where you drop them off.
Probably
so-
still somehow cooler this week than Ohio. So I'd take the heart of Texas.
We're pushing 94 today. Feels like 102.
Oh, we're about the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tropical storm watch for parts of Texas. That's fun.
Wow.
I would welcome a tropical storm with this weather.
Yeah.
Is that wrong to say?
No.
If it's going to be humid, you
No,
may
it's
as well.
not.
If it's going to be humid, you may as well get
welcome-
something for your money.
It was so humid. There was still lightning earlier today at noon.
Oh my
It
gosh!
was the
Okay, this
weirdest
one I'm gonna
thing.
Wow.
It was
Sorry,
weird.
I have a fourth thing I'm going to follow. I'll save that one for next week.
It was in the middle of what was the middle game? Oh, Slovakia, Belgium. Like during the game,
Oh.
I'm like, is that the TV? Like what is the what is the sound? And then the dog started barking, and I'm like, oh, all right. It's not the TV. I don't think Archer's ever barked at the TV. Unless it was literally a dog barking. So which, well, you can't blame them.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys are good, well, I should probably open Audacity.
Oh, yeah. I mistimed my dinner, so I will be leaving in about 3 minutes to go take it off the burner. But otherwise, I'm good to go.
Well, we can wait 3 minutes.
Oh, I'm fine.
You need to take
it could be good radio.
Would one of you guys say something? I think my audio is messing up.
Hello, I am speaking.
Yeah. Okay. It's picking up everybody. Hang on. I gotta
Okay. Oh.
close that.
Oh, perfect. While you troubleshoot, I will be right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, I don't want to say. By the way, hello YouTube. I haven't said hello to you all. Welcome back. It's been a minute since we've streamed on here, so I hope you guys are all
Hi,
doing well.
YouTube.
All right, let's try that.
Oh, you want me to talk?
Yeah, perfect. All right, now we're rolling. Now we're good. All right, sweet. Yeah, YouTube. Hope you guys are doing well, and
I'm
hopefully you're
so
not
glad
burning
that-
alive.
Aaron, I'm so glad MLS has their games on Wednesday this week. They have Wednesday games because on Thursday with Copa,
4 games,
good
baby.
Lord.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just, what am I doing all day? Like, oh
pretty
my.
nice. And there's like
Very
built-in
nice.
like hour breaks every, like it's just perfect.
Oh, I love
Like,
it.
you can make a
Soccer's
meal,
just
you
so
can-
digestible too. Like only being 2 hours. When people started, which honestly I didn't really hear fans complain. I feel like it was more analysts and pundits complaining when they're just like, oh, like they're adding like 12 added minutes onto the end of these games, and I'm like, because you're wasting all of it. Now they're actually really legitimately keeping track of how much time that should be added on.
Yep.
And I don't think any fans complaining. And also, like, the game usually ended in an hour and 45 minutes with halftime.
Yep.
It goes 10 more minutes. Nobody's complaining. We're still out in 2 hours. Like football, you're lucky if you're done in 4 sometimes. So like, I don't know. I love it. I'm like, you watch 2 games. Also, we've just been spoiled. Like, honestly, most of these games have been really, really fun. Like, there hasn't been a single 0-0 draw.
Yep.
Yeah. Even that France-Austria game, like, they're just like, it was 1-0. And at the end, I'm like, that did not feel like a 1-0 game. Just like as far as there was so much it felt like there was so much happening.
Yeah.
But
Well, and even like Slovakia, Belgium was the same way. Well, because there
fantastic.
was 2 goals scored.
I mean, even the Romania-Ukraine game, I think most people would be like, "Oh, so that was a blowout. It was boring." No,
Yeah, not really.
like that game was. Even that game was like, "Oh my gosh, what the heck?"
Yep. All right, I will get us started. Welcome to the show. Good to have you back with us, listeners. Johnny, Josh, good to have you back as well. Question to open the show. And I'm sort of saying this to poke fun of another country. However, the question that we have to ask is, are we okay? Are we alive? Because for Johnny and I, we live in Ohio, so you get any variety of weather. Right now, Ohio is treating us to 95 with a real feel of who knows what. Josh, I am afraid to ask if Ohio is 95, what Dallas, Texas is like, and / if you are alive.
Whew. Man, I'm going to tell you guys, it is hard down here. Thank you for asking. The felt temperature today was a full 39 degrees Celsius. And
why use that calculation, Josh? That seems so random.
I'm so glad you asked, Aaron, because our distant relatives, more distant than others, although Johnny and I still carry some of the shame of that old world. They're going through their own little heat wave this week, and there's a lot of talk online of how bad it's going to be. Currently, we're pushing a full 28 to 30 degrees Celsius there. In the article that...
Josh, say it in the proper way to measure temperature.
Yeah, say it in
Thank
freedom
you. You know
units,
what? Yeah,
please.
because I honestly have no semblance of what 28 degrees was, because the article that I read from, I don't know, The Guardian or whatever thing they understand to be news out there, probably The Sun, the stock photo they used was of a woman like dipping her head, or her full human head, into like the pond of like a fountain, like that water parts. I don't know what they call it. The water part. You know, you've been to
like a public fountain.
Public fountain, just dipping her head straight in. I'm like, oh man, it must be insane. 28 degrees. I mean, I'm a dumb American. I don't know anything outside of freedom units. That's like 78 degrees Fahrenheit.
Sounds wonderful right now.
Yeah, it sure does.
And here's the thing. And I know any UK listener, because I saw them online, they're going to go, well, the houses are insulated. So like it's designed to trap heat, and it's because of like our energy mandates. We can't have AC. One sec. That's a Freedom car driving by. Just wanted to remind us all how free we are out here. Amen, brother. Thanks for driving by right during the recording. Oh, I love apartment living. Oh, it's so great. I keep my apartment. It is currently at 74 degrees. That's what my apartment is at. I'm living that. 4 more degrees, and that's a UK heat wave. I'm sorry. Yeah, you guys are not built correctly.
Yeah.
It's hard. I get it. It's
literally built correctly.
But also, I'm currently chilling. I might even bump it up to 75 because it's really fine now.
Yeah. Like if I'm in a room trying to sleep at night that's 78, you will hear me complaining. But I'm not gonna.
It's not fun to sleep. It's not great to sleep.
Right.
I'll give you that.
But I'm.
But you could.
But I could.
I could.
Yeah. I could.
And have.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh gosh.
So yeah. It was 103 here today in freedom units.
Yeah. Now, we joke about freedom units. I would actually say freedom units are pretty much wrong in almost every circumstance. Like the English metric equivalent is just better. Temperature is not one of those things. Fahrenheit is just simply better.
It's perfect.
Yep.
100 degrees. It's like it feels 100% hot outside.
And you're dying.
And anything else is like, and honestly, the percentage works out great. If it's 125 degrees, I also feel like that is 25% more hot than it should be.
Yeah.
50's
30
right in the middle, which is
50's
perfect.
perfect.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
perfect temperature.
Yes.
I love a 60 to 75%.
Oh.
I love 60 to 70%.
The English would actually probably agree with us that 50 is the right temperature.
Everyone's
Yeah,
like,
they might.
oh, why
I
would
feel like
you?
we'd actually be on the same page.
Yep.
I hate using water as a metric. You know what I realize that a lot of my body is water. I don't want to say a percentage because I feel like I'm going to get it wrong and then I get blasted online. Let's say 70%. That's what I remember from Magic School Bus.
Mm.
The other 30% of me doesn't care about water. It wants AC.
Yeah. Amen.
And frankly, 0 degrees Fahrenheit being 0% cold, 0% hot, that's
Mhm.
perfect
Yeah.
for how I perceive things. Because 32 is fine. I can live in 32.
Mhm.
That's
Yep.
delightful.
Mhm.
Put a little
Yeah,
coat
you're
on,
right.
I'm
0
fine.
degrees, you walk outside and you think there is no heat. It's gone.
There is no heat.
Yep.
Yes.
I-
Is Kelvin better for 0? Absolutely. I don't care because
I don't know
I
who
want
that is.
Kelvin's that cool term.
I know, Josh.
I think he's the tight end for the Chiefs, right? Travis Kelvin. Is that? who
Oh,
am I
Travis
thinking of?
Kelvin. Yeah.
Okay.
Did he get arrested for something this offseason too?
Surprisingly, no, but I think it's because he's
It's also
had a
the
busy
season,
summer.
The off season is still very young.
That's true.
Oh,
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Well,
no.
Yeah.
It's just so close to
They-
Georgia, you know?
It's too close. Yes,
close.
yes. Kansas is well known for their rivalry and proximity to
Yes.
Georgia. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Well, this show's already off the rails, which honestly feels fitting because I think that's pretty much how the rest of the show is going to go. I am going to bounce you all around from random college football conversations that kind of, for the most part, happened while we were on our season 1 to season 2 hiatus. We obviously have some soccer to talk about, the Euro Cup, the Copa America tournament starting this week, so we'll be getting into all of that. But I want to start with a conversation that Josh Pate has been talking about on his show. If you're not familiar, Josh Pate is a college football. He's got a great college football podcast. I listen to it. I think he's really, really solid at what he does. It is just 24/7 college football over there, which I respect. So that's always fun. He's asking the question, do we need conference championship games in college football? And kind of the scenario that he's giving, and it's something that we've talked about on this show before, especially in light of the 12-team playoff, which I have no thoughts on because I promised you all last week that I would have no thoughts on it. I have no thoughts on the 12-team playoff. I have no opinions. In this playoff, there's a very real scenario where Ohio State and Michigan line up against one another on November 30th. In the last 5 years, if the Big Ten did not have divisions, which they do not now, Ohio State and Michigan would have been playing in Indianapolis the week after the game in the Big Ten Championship. And look, I like Indy. I actually got to cover a game at the Colts Stadium last year. Really cool venue. It's not the same. This is the freezing cold take of the century. It's not the same as having the rivalry game in the shoe or in the big house. But in theory, that Big Ten Conference Championship game means more. In theory, because in this 12-team playoff world, the winner of that game is, I'm assuming you're getting a first round bye, which is a big deal in the playoff. Oh, but then there is the 12-team playoff, and you could play again, which we almost had 2 years ago, and that was with a 4-team playoff. And so you get to have a third edition of the game. Now, I think we're all in agreement. The game is one of the best rivalries in all of sports, Ohio State, Michigan. I don't want to see it played 3 times. I want to see it played once, and that's it, in a perfect world. If it happens in the playoff, I get it. I want to see it played once. By playing the Big Ten Championship, you're diminishing that original first rivalry game. If you meet in the playoffs, it means even less. So that's kind of the scenario that he has given. And I think we're all in agreement with that. Now, where it gets interesting is the fact that the championship games are not going away because of TV money. CBS is not gonna think, oh, for the betterment of the sport, we're gonna lose out on millions of dollars. It's never gonna happen. But here's my suggestion in the world where we get to run sports, which hopefully is coming. It does not make sense, in my opinion, for the major conferences to actually play conference championship games. We'll actually get to the point very soon where teams will be faced with the decision, do we compete in this championship game or do we rest our players because we already know we have a playoff spot? That's a real thing that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation that he has not talked about, because he doesn't necessarily follow these teams as much, is the group of 5. On the other hand, the group of 5, your Max, the Mountain West, all this stuff, it's extremely necessary because you're not just competing in your own conference for a conference championship. You have 5 conferences trying to vie for one spot. So you have to play a conference championship game. And it actually means a lot. So I think a perfect world is where the Power 4 conferences now, because RIP Pac-12, they died officially while we were on break. They don't play a conference championship game because it's not necessary. I know you'll get into weird scenarios with tiebreakers and maybe 2 undefeated teams. Whatever. Figure it out. I don't think they need it. Power 5 schools do need it. Let's have that MAC championship game in Detroit. That becomes a big deal because you are vying for that one Power 5 spot. But thoughts on that, like this conversation? Do you guys, obviously the scenario I gave is kind of the doomsday scenario in terms of seeing the same game 3 times. That's not necessarily always going to be the case. It could be. But I'm curious what you guys think. If in a perfect world we ran sports, we got to decide what happens.
Mm-hmm. One thing Pate said on Twitter referencing your that tweet that I think is really good, or maybe it was in a comment. If you know that there's a good chance you're going to walk away and make this basically a best of 3 series, that first game, but because regardless, the urgency gets lost.
Yeah.
In that first game. Now, if this was a playoff and we knew this was a best of 3, awesome, whatever. We're going to talk about the Mavs, and that's a best of 7. Like, there was varying levels of panic through all of that. And with any other playoff game, best of 7, best of 5, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's not how the game has operated.
Yep.
The game.
Yep. For hundreds of years.
I've mastered lots of things, and in theology we do point out
is one of them
is singular. Yes, and it is not the game, both are singular. The games can also be plural. This is how English works, and this is why English is stupid. But when you don't have that urgency, because there's a good chance we're going to know, just like with NFL teams, we see this at the end of every season. Okay, all Steelers need to do is tie with the Ravens or win, and the Chargers need to lose a game they most likely will lose, and the Jets have to lose. You know, all these random scenarios.
In that scenario, that exact thing would happen.
And it would absolutely happen. Which I think is actually, if I'm remembering correctly, that actually was part of how it was going to happen this past year, how the Steelers sneaked through. But so you rest your guys. You don't play all the way out because you know you have to rest your starters for the wild card game. That most likely is going to happen. Or you only play maybe one half of the game and you kind of, piddle around the second half and just make sure you don't lose. Put your starters in if anything gets dicey. This is commonplace. And whether or not you like that in the NFL is one thing, but it's never been done in college because every game matters. This is not a rest your guys and figure this out. There's been a lot of discussion with this around bowl games sometimes, where players will maybe rest themselves or declare for the draft before their team plays for the bowl game. And that elicits controversy. I'm not going to talk about whether or not I agree with that. The point is that it does elicit a lot of controversy when that happens, depending on the team, depending on the player, and depending on the bowl specifically they're playing in. The argument is usually, they're giving up on their team. You're going to get a lot of frustration from the fan bases if, next year, Ohio State and Michigan are going in top 5, which could happen. And it feels like both of them are playing not as hard. Now, this year it's going to be different because Ohio State's going to be looking to snap the streak. But that's not always going to be the case.
Year, there's no precedent yet. So I don't think that would be what we see this year.
Exactly. But given maybe 10 or 15, 20 years where this is commonplace, if it becomes commonplace, if this is what Michigan's trying to build towards, if Ohio State continues to build off this, like that first game just becomes testing the waters. And it's no longer the game. We're back to a game because we know, oh, next week we scrimmaged.
Well, and that's the thing. The way the Big Ten has kind of shaken out the last few years,
and this is more
you would
specifically for the
know
Big
going
Ten.
into the game that you're playing a week later. It's not like you play the game, oh yeah, Ohio State beat Michigan, finally, let's go. And then you find out, uh-oh, we're playing them again. You will know probably going into that last day, or at least you'll know that there's a very real possibility that you're rematching in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Iowa's going to
So
blow
we're
it on a team they shouldn't have, and there we go.
We're talking about this also, like from Ohio State, Michigan perspective, and that's just because like literally the last 3 years this would have happened. So they're the easy example.
Yeah.
Well, let's think of some other teams across the country who will be playing the last week of the season that are at least up to the caliber that this could also be happening to. What's the first rivalry outside of Ohio State, Michigan that comes to mind? Probably the Iron Bowl, Auburn and Alabama. Auburn is probably going to get their act together. They have wild fluctuations, but they will have a year where they are certainly the second best team in the SEC or the first best team in the SEC. There's the opportunity for them to play Alabama back-to-back weeks. Again, nobody really wants to see that. Texas A&M are playing again last week of the season. No matter what you think about Texas A&M, they have the resources that they hypothetically could be finishing in the top 2. That game could be played back-to-back weeks. The whole state of Texas might burn to the ground, but it could happen.
Yep.
You know, like so. And there's others that I'm leaving out, of course, but those, and we've said this before, and this is why we're kind of like never loved the idea of a 12-team playoff, is like it's a supply and demand thing, really, when it comes down to it. Like it's the severity of the punishment of losing one game in college football that has always brought on the urgency and the drama of it. And you're cutting that away. So when people say, oh, you're against more good football, I don't know if it is more good football.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that if that's actually the case. So, and then there's also this part. So again, we haven't experienced this yet because this is the first year with Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC. This is the first year with Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC joining the Big Ten. Big Ten plays 9 conference games. SEC only plays 8. Well, if you do the math with how big these conferences are now, you're not remotely playing every conference member every year. So who's playing in these conference tournaments is already going to be wildly unequal based on your strength of schedule and conference. And I know that's not rigged or anything. They have math equations, so you're playing everybody as regularly as you can and mixing that up as much as possible outside of the rivalry games. But like, let's not start off from the baseline that this is already equal. It's not, like
Ask Florida.
Look at Missouri's schedule compared to Florida's this year.
Yeah.
I think Missouri gets Alabama, and that's kind of it as far as like the top 10 preseason teams. Listen, I'm not saying Missouri's schedule is easy. Please don't hear that. But in comparison to other SEC teams, Missouri could be sitting there. They lost to Alabama. They didn't play any other top 10 teams, but only having one loss and not having any killer tiebreakers, they go play in the SEC title game. While you have a 3-loss, LSU, who just just went through the gauntlet and they're left out. So we're already not going to be playing at an equal standpoint. So I have no problem getting rid of the conference title game. It doesn't serve any purpose other than money because the prize is not worth enough. In reality, the prize is not worth enough just to get that first round bye, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be worth it. I really don't. And you'll have somebody losing that game who's really screwed at that point.
Yes.
So you're kind of hurting yourself a ton by doing that, especially if you're the Big Ten and SEC, especially those two conferences that we're kind of talking about. Those two really, to me, have no incentive because the two teams in that title game are most likely already have tickets to the playoff in a 12-team scenario.
Yep.
Like, so this is not doing anything except a first round bye. But if you don't get the bye and you're in that title game, you're probably the 5th or 6th seed. You get to host that playoff game. If you're the 5th seed, you're probably playing the group of 5 team.
Yep.
So, like, and I don't mean to belittle them, but we had shared conference titles before, and they weren't always my favorite thing. But people are going to call this out this year because one of these conferences that you don't play everybody in, Big 12 is actually kind of in a similar spot, even though they don't have quite as many teams. You don't play everybody. You're still going to have people crying foul of, well, look at their schedule. What the heck? We only lost one more game than them. And in comparison, like, we played 5 of the top 15 teams. They played 2. But that'll just be how it is. So it's already so unequal. You're right, Aaron. There's too much money. They won't get rid of it unless all the member institutions of like the SEC or Big Ten literally scream, we hate this. Get rid of this. We don't want it. They're part of the television deals, though, that both these conferences signed. So that won't be anything easy to rip up. So it's all in theory right now. We'll have to see how things go. But I'm just waiting for the end of the season for people to be screaming about strength of schedule within their conferences. It's usually like, oh, Michigan didn't play anybody, or Ohio State didn't play anybody, or Florida didn't play anybody. But now it'll be Florida pointing at Auburn, screaming, "You didn't play anybody."
Yeah,
so it'll be a very interesting end of the season how that works out, because the numbers don't work. They don't work anymore for the sizes of these conferences.
It's going to be fascinating to see how much emphasis does this playoff have for teams. I found some web results. Wow, Siri is really trying to join this conversation. Siri, go away. That was interesting. Wow, I completely lost my train of thought. Okay, so let me put it this way. This is a different scenario. And yes, we're playing the name whatever scenarios off the top of our head game right now. Some of these are going to be real because this is such a weird system. Johnny, I think you're absolutely correct about the strength of schedule. Two things. Number one, I just want to read off Florida's schedule. It's June 17th, 2024.
It's stupid.
But we need that amount of time to brace ourselves and to properly mourn in advance for the Florida Gators. Billy Napier is gone at the end of the year. There's no way he survives.
Aaron, can I say, if he goes 6-6 and half of those 6 losses aren't blowouts, he should not lose his job.
Oh, he should not, but he will.
If he's losing all those games by 40 points, I get it. Whatever. Yeah, but if they're competitive and they go 6-6, he should keep his job. Yeah. And you'll reiterate that here with the schedule.
Yeah, here we go. Hold on to a loved one. Okay? You all ready? Saturday, August 31st. That is week 1. They are playing Miami at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time in the Swamp. That's week 1. Samford. We've got a W we can pencil on the schedule. And that's the only one, because then they play Texas A&M at Mississippi State. They host UCF, a UCF team that's going to be halfway decent. Ooh. At Tennessee, home against Kentucky. They play their normal game against Georgia. Oh, good thing they can rest after that. Oh, wait, they go to Texas the week after Georgia. Then they play LSU. Then they play Ole Miss. Then they go to Florida State. Florida, I don't know what you did to anger the football gods. I don't know. No clue. But they are extremely angry and they hate you.
It was that documentary.
It might have been. It might have been. So that's the schedule. Missouri's, by the way, if you look at just like, I'm looking at FBS schedules. That's a tremendous resource if you're looking for future schedules. They have, on Missouri's schedule, 2 games against projected top 25 teams. That is at Alabama and Oklahoma. That's it. That's it.
Right. And those are tough games. And it's not like the other games are like all cakewalks, but compare the two.
Oh my gosh.
And you are technically in the same conference. And if Missouri finishes 10-2, and that's a good enough record to be in the SEC title game, and hypothetically Florida finishes 9-3, Missouri gets to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say, because that's not the conference.
But,
You know, they play
yeah,
8 games,
I-
whatever. But
right.
you get what I mean.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
Missouri only goes like 7-1, and Florida goes 6-2, and you're like, and let's say Florida looks better, which I would think they would look the part at that point. Like a 9-3 Florida with that record, that's insane. You should probably put them in the playoff.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Like, but anyway.
Now, there's one other scenario I want to put out there. And I am not putting this out there to say that this is a realistic scenario. But again, it comes down to the question of how much do you really prioritize making the college football playoff? And that's going to be different for every team. It's going to be different based on the expectations that you have as a program. It might be different depending on what kind of bonuses your head coach is getting for reaching that point. I'm going to bring, again, this is a hypothetical. I've got Ole Miss's schedule pulled up. Let's say that there is a world in which they are 10-1 heading into the Egg Bowl by virtue of tiebreakers. They already know that they have a spot in the SEC championship game. By winning that SEC championship game, they get a first round bye, they get a top 4 seed. Josh, you talked about NFL teams resting players. Technically speaking, Ole Miss's seeding won't really change that much if they lose the Egg Bowl, but win the SEC title game. So, depending on how you want to look at it, again, depending on what you want to prioritize, Ole Miss beating Mississippi State, their biggest rival, doesn't really mean that much in terms of the playoff. What if your best player gets hurt in that game? Now, by no means am I saying Ole Miss should just kind of play a bunch of backups in the Egg Bowl in their biggest game of the season, nor do I think they will. But I think we have to bring up the hypothetical. If you're really prioritizing championship or bust, and that is your sole focus, it actually doesn't make sense for you to play starters in that Egg Bowl scenario.
No.
You're better just to rest. You take your L, you let your rival clown on you for a week, then you go win the SEC championship, and then you go to the college football playoff as the top 4 seed. Again, that is a weird, wild scenario that I don't think we're going to see. But it's at least worth
now
throwing
we
out
also
there.
still have, because one thing you say, I'm glad you brought this up, because in my head, the immediate thing that popped up was this is partially the reason. Again, in an ideal world, I don't think it's going to, in the implementation, get better. But ideally, this is why the college football committee exists. The playoff committee exists because then they can eye test and punish teams that are clearly sitting out. Now, we've talked about this before. We don't think they watch any games, so it may as well just be BCS, but done by 13 humans.
Yeah.
But ideally, this could be a situation where the human equation, the eye test here, you can punish, or not punish, but like you can drop teams down lower by virtue of them just not putting effort in, knowing they kind of assumed a spot in the playoffs.
Right.
And again, I don't know, implementation is going to be hard on that because that requires them to watch more than one football game a week. But that could be a fail-safe if it comes to that.
Yeah. And again, I think we're going to get into a world soon where college football teams are playing backups and not throwing a game, but basically not trying to avoid injury. I don't think so.
Not this
Probably
first
not
year, at
this
least.
year.
Probably, yeah.
Not the first year. People won't know any better.
Yeah.
We also don't know, like, because the committee don't have hard and fast criteria, we don't know exactly how they'll react.
That's true.
Maybe it'll cause them to create hard and fast.
See, at least we admit to being arbitrary and capricious. It's part of our
They
charm.
do not.
Yeah.
They pretend like they aren't, but they are.
Yeah. So again, it's a bunch of hypothetical, borderline conspiracy theories that we're throwing out there, but I'm all right with that because what else is June in the college
Why
football
else are you
world
listening
for?
to
Yeah,
us?
that's so true. That too. Now, if you just flat out disagree with us, you are more than welcome to. Let us know on Twitter. That's probably the best place for it. We are at Fifth Goal Sports on Twitter. We can continue this conversation on because this is a conversation that can go in a million different directions, or 134 directions, if you will, for the number of FBS teams this year. Shout out Kennesaw State. All right, before we move away from the college football topic,
Oh yeah.
Josh, you are actually no longer in Big 12 territory. You actually, okay, you are because TCU's close. But for the purpose of this podcast and for the bit,
I'm 30 minutes. I'm 30 minutes driving distance from their headquarters.
yeah. But for the
closer
purpose
to
of this
SMU.
bit, because Texas moved to the SEC and because SMU is in the ACC, you are
I'm
no
an
longer
ACC country.
Yeah, you're an ACC country, so you actually are not
Atlantic
aware of
Coast.
anything we're about to talk about. The Big 12 is selling their naming rights of the conference to a title sponsor. Allstate has been rumored as a front runner.
Love it.
I think it's kind of hilarious. Good for the Big 12. Now, the best thing I saw, though, was not who the title sponsor for the Big 12 will be, but rather when all the other conferences adopt this model, what we're going to get. The best one I saw was the Chick-fil-A CC. I think that's fantastic.
That's so
Chick-fil-A
good.
CC. Josh, you're in ACC country now, so.
That writes itself. There's a Chick-fil-A that I could walk to.
Yep.
It's like 5 miles away, so it'd be a bad walk, but I could walk to it. We're car dependent down here.
Yeah.
Man, Chick-fil-A CC is so good.
It's so
it
good.
just rolls right off the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
They're already sponsoring a ton of things. Like,
Yeah.
it would be nothing.
I'm all for the Southwest Conference guy who said that. Get
Oh,
Southwest Airlines to sponsor the conference and
Yep.
just bring the old Southwest Conference back.
Ugh.
All about that.
See, now we're going to like
and
almost like
and don't let me
old-fashioned,
hear
like-
the whole, but West Virginia and Central Florida are in the conference now. I don't care.
Yep.
I don't care.
That's
What
their
I
own
like
fault.
about-
That's their
Johnny, what I
fault.
like about that is that it almost brings back this like banana republic where like we have these private corporations who are now forcing like publicly owns resources, these universities, to like make things, which is I really, in this case, I'm for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's
Absolutely.
also what the Big 12 is doing is they are looking for a company, so I don't know, someone to basically
Luxembourg.
to add private
The
equity
country of
to the
Luxembourg.
conference. Yeah, definitely that.
No, it was. It was literally.
Oh, really? Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, to basically, sponsor slash it's business, whatever. It's way more important than the naming thing. The naming thing's just way more fun. So I don't have anything to say about that other than, look, good for the Big 12 trying to compete with the SEC Big 10. I think it's a great first step. I think it's really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
The problem is then if the SEC and Big 10 says, hey, look, that's a great idea. We should do that too. And then you're kind of back on uneven footing. But will the SEC or Big 10 be willing to give up like 25% of their ownership? Maybe not. And maybe that's where the Big 12 has an advantage. That's actually way more important. I think it's also way more boring, so I don't have any other thoughts on it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's more of a risk. They're taking a risk. Big 10 SEC probably aren't willing to take that risk. Big 12 is because I give them so much credit. They're going for it. They're talking about games in Mexico. They're like they are putting everything on the table and saying, what can we stomach? What can we try to stay on the same level playing field as the Big 10 and SEC, while the ACC is feeling like it's about to fall into the ocean, just like the Pac-12 did. So I give them a ton of credit just because this also isn't official. They're like, hey, we're looking at this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, hey, why not? Why not? Why not try instead of just accepting your fate? I love it.
100%. Yeah, and good on them.
Pac-12 could have used some of that energy.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I would like to suggest, and I don't know how we're going to get this functionally, but I need the Big 10 to get 5 more members to get up to 23 members.
Oh, no.
And then I want Dr. Pepper sponsoring them.
Yeah.
And it's the Dr. Pepper conference.
5 isn't hard,
18.
Josh.
No, it's not.
5 isn't hard. You just soak in. We'll let West Virginia in finally.
Aw.
Nah.
Clemson, Florida State. There's 2.
Oh, Clemson, Florida State.
Give me
'cause they
Notre Dame. Give
Yep.
me
Notre Dame.
Virginia Tech and North Carolina.
Oh man, that'd be
Yes.
fun.
Done.
There it is.
Give me
Done.
Marshall
Easy.
before West Virginia. I don't know.
We'll get Marshall and App State.
Oh, I love it. I love
Oh
it.
man, really rubbing the salt in the wound there.
I will say, as the second most popular soda in the world, in America, I don't know, whatever the rankings are.
I mean, what's the difference?
According to the power rankings recently, I feel like it's been a while since Dr. Pepper has actually reminded us that there's 23 flavors, which seems kind of
That's
unfortunate.
Well, see, they keep adding additional flavors.
Oh,
They keep. I mean, I saw down here. There's strawberries and cream. We're
well,
up to
right,
25.
which it's actually
Gosh,
pretty good. But I'm saying within their original recipe, I think there's 23.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
haven't been
yes.
reminded of that in a while.
Are we sure that it's additional flavors, or they're not just
Accenting.
focusing in on one of the 23 more?
Oh,
Oh.
so basically you're thinking
Strawberries and cream are already one of they're already ingredients.
So
and they're
this
just
is like instead of like this is like your extra chunky, like your I've already lost every word. Your crunchy peanut butter and then your extra crunchy peanut butter. And so this is,
Yes.
you have Dr. Pepper, then you have Dr. Pepper extra strawberry.
yeah. They just don't tell you that because they don't want you to know what the 23 flavors are.
Dr. Pepper extra cream. And everyone goes, why?
Yeah,
But I want
exactly.
this.
Then everybody will know. Eventually, after they get to 23, they'll know what
I'm
the
sorry.
23 flavors are or ingredients. Whatever. There's not a difference. It's the
Hey,
same
but
thing.
you already drove past us.
Yeah, Freedom Card
15 minutes
guy's
ago.
back. That's
Thank you,
exciting.
Freedom Truck.
Yeah.
It's
He
a
heard
Ram.
Texas. Texas mentioned he had to drive.
Texas
past.
mentions he turned on his car and drove by us just for that. He's gonna drive around because that gate that he's about to go to is closed. So we're gonna hear him in like 3 minutes. I love America. It's okay.
Man.
It's fine.
Yeah.
No, what I was gonna say is this is not. I don't think it. The joke is gone because the stupid truck. This is, you know what? Straight to jail, every truck.
Yeah.
Not
I think
that-
Johnny
also
actually threw all the trucks
responsible for-
away in jail recently. So perfect.
Yes, I did, because trucks
What?
are the worst. I got
Trucks are the
tailgated
worst.
this weekend by like 3 trucks on 3 separate occasions. They're the worst.
I don't understand for the majority. Like, I get it. Like, my dad has a truck. Dad, if you're listening, I'm sorry. But also, we've talked to private. The majority of it is just carrying like a person or two around. And like occasionally it hauls. But you know what I can do? I can go to U-Haul and rent a truck for $20. Like a pickup truck. 15, $20. In town. Easy.
Yeah.
I could rent like a 12-footer for like 30. I don't need.
Trucks have become what Hummers were when we were kids.
Ooh,
Mhm.
that's a hot take, but I'm not sure I disagree with it. Wow.
Remember Hummers? They were everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yep.
Are the new Hummers those like crab commercials with LeBron? You know, like they can like
Oh,
shift
yeah.
the wheels
I
and
think
go
they-
like
I think they
that
are.
or whatever.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
all electric, which is
How? That's
first
like,
off,
how
what
much
a great
cobalt
question.
is in that thing?
mostly. It's mostly cobalt. It's funny
It
because
must
it
weigh
is-
a literal ton.
it's a muscular looking truck, which is not what people who want to buy electric vehicles, what their electric vehicles will look like. But
That's
also
probably why it's not selling.
it's a muscular looking truck, but it's electric. So people who want a muscular looking truck want it to be gas powered and to annoy anyone who's just trying to record a podcast in his bedroom.
The
If it
Big
was a- if
12
a-
presented by Hummer.
The Hummer. Nope.
12.
12.
I just love that keeping 12 was on the table. Like they're already going to rebrand, but
Yep.
they really want to keep 12 still for some reason. I'm like,
When was
what?
the last time they had 12 teams? Was it 2008? I don't even know. I'm not going to
When
look
did-
it up. That
yeah,
takes
when
too
did
much
Missouri and Nebraska leave? So yeah,
work. 2012? 20
sounds right.
I don't know. Who cares? That's too much
That was when
research.
though.
We don't do that kind of research on this show.
No, we don't.
Nope. What we do is we skip over the NBA Finals because not really anything has happened since we last talked about it. So we're at Game 5 tonight.
Anything I say could potentially be obsolete by the time this even airs.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna. I have the keys ready to send Drake to double jail.
Solitary. Yep.
Fair enough.
Yep. We could do the thing that they do in The Office where Daryl is trying to time hack and he gets all of his like spoken parts out of the way. He's like, this is unfortunate that this specific thing happened to this specific person. We can do the same thing. Wow.
Yeah.
That game tonight was
what
a game that was played
what a
in the
show.
NBA Finals.
That first quarter really set the stage. And
For the
man,
other
by the
three.
fourth quarter, it really did just come down to it. And what a victory!
Yep.
What a moment
Mm-hmm.
/ moments.
Yep.
And
Dallas could win. Luka would still be running out of gas in the fourth. That's evergreen.
Mm-hmm.
Jaylen Brown will outplay Jason Tatum again. Evergreen. The Celtics won't shoot as bad as Game 4, so they'll shoot well.
Yep.
So, yeah.
There you have
Celtics probably win. But
I think so too. Back in Boston. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Probably
for
over.
I'm so excited for the most historic comeback.
I mean, if we're talking about the NBA Finals next week,
great.
then we have had the
Wonderful.
most significant comeback. So
7 points away from this being a 2-2 game, 2-2 series.
Well,
and
Dallas is somehow positive in the overall like points differential. Now it's because they beat Boston by like 50.
a billion. But like I was gonna say, like it's
only counts as one.
Yeah.
Only counts as one. Yeah, I was gonna say it's a gentleman's sweep, but like gentleman's sweeps don't usually go that far away. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. Same situation in the Stanley Cup too.
I might be here next week. I might
go Edmonton.
Yeah. I get a point.
Go
I get a point for Boston winning. So
sorry that the script for the playoffs is the exact same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, NHL. You're supposed to be the one that goes to 7 games and guys are out there in triple overtime just laying it all on the line. But
thank goodness we have soccer.
Yep. And that's what we're going to talk about next.
Nice segue.
So it is picks of the week, and last week we picked the Euro Cup. Obviously, we're just a few days in. Almost all of the teams have played. There's only one more group that has yet to play. Both of those games will be tomorrow. So no points updates. The current standings still says, Josh, you've got 3 points. Johnny, you've got 3 points. I've got 2 points. But if the Boston Celtics win tonight, I do get an extra point. So we'll come back to our picks as the Euro Cup moves along. For now, though, Johnny, you had France winning, correct?
Yes.
All right, and then Josh, you had England. I had Germany. We all got 3 points in the first game. Now, my squad was the only one that did it comfortably, let's say, but for the most part, 3 points or 3 points doesn't really matter how you draw it up. That's the result, and it worked out. Now, Johnny, a little bit of concern for France because you and I both broke our noses in high school. At about the same time, I broke mine playing basketball. And then about a month later, I gave you my mask because you broke your nose playing soccer. And so we tend to be a little bit more sensitive to a broken nose when we see one. However, I would venture that you do not have to have broken your nose to understand that when Kylian Mbappe's nose is sideways after he smashed his face into a guy's shoulder, yeah, he's got a broken nose. That has not officially been named the case. I would bet my house on it almost that he's got a broken nose. So that's a little bit of a concern. Maybe it's as simple as he just wears a mask and turns into Superman and doesn't miss a wide open goal like he did today. But what are your thoughts on what we've seen so far with France and otherwise so far?
Yeah. So, I mean, I broke my nose playing soccer. Not quite in the exact same way as Kylian, but we have something in common now.
Yep.
It took one replay for me to be, his nose is broke.
Yeah.
I didn't live. You couldn't live. The picture didn't really sit on him either because Austria went on a long counter. And then the ball got played out and everybody stopped. And we went back to Kylian and it showed very quickly, there was no menace in, any of it. He went for the header and the shoulder of the Austrian defender, as he's swinging your head as you do when you had the ball and his shoulder's coming right at him. And he just made direct contact only with his nose. Half the time you don't break your nose just because the rest of your head kind of gets in the way, your face gets in the way. In this case, unfortunately for him, it just made direct contact. And then they finally showed him on the ground and he was holding his face. And then you saw the blood and I'm like, oh, that is broken. And then of course it was all the more evident the more pictures we got of Kylian. So that stinks. That said, I'll just say from my experience, and that this does not mean the experience is the same just because his medical care is the best the world has to offer. It's not what I had in high school. But I had 2 options. One was to get the nose, have surgery and get the nose fixed. And I could not play immediately doing so.
Yeah.
You know, I had to sit out 2 weeks because it said, you know, it has to actually begin the healing process. Or I could play, and I still had to wear a mask after that. Or I could just put on a mask, wait until like my season was over, and then have a surgery. But that requires you to like re-break the nose, and it might not be straight even after that. Like they do the best they can, but your nose is already healed, like crooked. So I doubt his timeline would be the exact same. I'm not saying that, but it'll just be interesting to see. Like, I really struggled breathing with a broken nose. Like, it's also not just like, I'll just slap a mask on there, and like, I struggled to sleep at night. So again, he has the best medical care in the world, but it's not as simple as like, like fighting through an injury. Like, this is going to kind of plague him a little bit off the field more than another injury might. So, and there'll just be, it's a lot of discomfort, and wearing a mask in soccer, like, I'm sure that's no fun in any sport, but because you had the ball, just the way you're running, like, gosh, it's terrible. It is just terrible. So it's a big story though. It's a big story. You know, France is one of the prohibitive favorites, and he's the best player in the world by most people's accounts. So that might throw a big wrench, in France's plans. They're more than Kylian. They're an outstanding team all around, but that'll be interesting going forward.
Yeah, for sure. We had our big upset of the tournament so far. It was mostly chalk, and then Belgium goes scoreless, kind of. They scored twice, and twice VAR said, not so fast, my friend. One was an offsides, and one was a pretty clear handball, so I can't really argue with either call. VAR stepped in, did what they're supposed to, made the correct
Twitter
calls.
wasn't even arguing, which is telling.
So excellent win for Slovakia. So honestly, that entire group is pretty wild because also in Group E, you had a bit of an upset with Romania beating Ukraine 3-0. I think Ukraine was the favorite team there. So that whole Group E has been turned upside down, which kind of works in Belgium's favor, I guess. It's not like they lost and then some heavyweight won and now you're chasing them in the standings. That's not really what happened. Still plenty of time, but that was
wide open to begin with. Really, that was one of the most wide open groups.
Yep, and you
not
you said
by
that
FIFA
last week.
rankings, but
FIFA thinks Belgium's the third best team in the world apparently. And what I saw
exactly. Never pay attention to FIFA rankings, especially when it comes to Belgium. They're always 1, 2, or 3 going into every major tournament, and they flop. Other than that 2018 World Cup in Russia, they at least made the semifinals. But Belgium was ranked 3rd, and Slovakia was ranked 48th. So I'm not going to tell you it wasn't an upset at all. It wasn't nearly an upset of that proportion, though, if you know these teams. Just saying, FIFA rankings, don't worry about them. They always put the U.S. as close to the top 10 as they can, and that's a bunch of crap. So
a load of barnacles, as they probably say.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to talk about on the Euro Cup before we move into this week, which is Copa America. Yes, there's another soccer tournament. Fubo TV. Look, folks, Fox paid millions of dollars, millions and millions and millions of dollars for the rights to the Euro Cup. Then somehow Fubo TV made some deal where they have exclusive streaming rights for 5 of these games. Fubo TV, by the way, costs $90 a month. It's not like we're talking about the NFL using Peacock for one of their playoff games, and that's the only way you can watch it. Like, we are kind of talking about that because that's not
$6.
great. But that's $6. At the end of the day, would you pay $6 to watch a playoff game? If you're an NFL fan, might be begrudgingly, but you're going to do it. $90 a month. Now, there's a way to do a free trial, but that's and me as well. Yeah, welcome to the club.
I use that to watch the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, but at your own risk, right? Because you forget you hit snooze on your notification on accident, and all of a sudden you see a $90 charge show up on your bank account.
I canceled it as soon as the race was over. I went, wow, good job, NASCAR. Delete. I'm not playing this game.
Yeah, and it's
I
not
waited
just
until this morning to do it because I wanted to like I kind of had to pick.
Yep.
Because not all the games were in the 7-day span.
Correct.
So I was just like, okay, I guess I gotta kind of, how many can I fit in the 7-day window?
Yep, exactly. Now, to make matters worse, it's not just that Fubo TV that you might have to spend $90 on top of whatever streaming service you have to watch these games on Fox. That's not bad enough. I don't know how much money Fubo spent on these 5 games. Whatever it was 100% of their budget, because I don't even remember what game it was. I'm going to look it up because I feel like it goes.
And they didn't have the score bug until this morning.
Yes, Hungary, Switzerland.
This was the first game.
Saturday was on Fubo TV. They did not have a score bug the entire game. You could have just turned on the game like the 30th minute. You wouldn't even know what the teams are. Like Switzerland wears red, and maybe it was obvious when Hungary had like a greenish kit that was Hungary, but you don't know. I mean, Belgium's out there wearing like burgundy. That's not in their flag.
This morning would have been a mess.
Yeah.
It's literally it's blue and yellow.
Yep.
I even, with the score bug this morning, was like, right, Ukraine is in blue. They're in blue, not the yellow.
Yep.
Because it's just like, it's the exact same colors. It's even like very close shades, especially the yellow. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm like having to reorient myself because it feels like Ukraine is always wearing their yellow. That's with the score bug. Mess.
Guys, you're missing the point. Fubo did this on purpose. Because you know what Fubo understands about us.
Purpose.
Here's what they realized. We as a society, and I'd say specifically for Americans, we are so concerned. We've talked about a few weeks ago the crisis that is becoming all of the betting things is becoming just inundated in a lot of our sports.
Sure.
The announcers are talking about the lines and the over-unders. DraftKings is sponsoring certain things now. You know what we need? We need minimalist. And for America, minimalist is soccer. Because to the popular perception, nothing happens in soccer. 2, you don't even get the distraction of scores, of timing, of
knowing what's happening,
the countries.
Somebody has a red card.
Yeah,
you can if you were there for it, you get to experience that. That's for you. If you didn't, you missed it. That's also for your benefits. There is
Talk about FOMO, man.
We're not here. Yeah, this is the opposite of FOMO. Just sit and you are. You just are, and it is soccer. Who's playing? It doesn't matter. It's soccer.
It's for the love of the game. Sorry, the love of the match. My apologies. Sorry. Insensitive of me.
But see, in that blank space that would be the teams and the scores and the time and the substitutions, that's where you can understand.
I'm also just so
it's
frustrated.
Not a game. It is a match, and
Aaron,
to me that's beautiful.
Aaron,
anyway,
I don't know if
you guys can
going
be
to mention
frustrated.
this too. What is Fox showing instead? Which also, let's remind ourselves, there's main Fox, there's FS1, and there's FS2, which also you don't even need all 3 channels. Like, there's never more than one game going on at a time. Like, they're showing pro bass fishing or Undisputed, which is literally talking about NFL topics, or they're not even talking about the NBA final. They're talking about probably a tweet LeBron liked or thought about liking last night. Like,
but guys, did you hear he unfollowed Kendrick Perkins? Why haven't we talked about this yet?
Thank you.
Why haven't we talked about
that? Was what I was alluding to. I couldn't remember what it was.
That's what I was following. You kind of ruined what I was following, but sure. I was going to spend 25 straight uninterrupted minutes on that.
But that's like,
oh man,
who in their right mind prefers that over a live sporting event?
Yes.
I'm not even talking Euros anymore. Any live sporting event.
Give me the cheese rolling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Give me hobby horsing.
Give me live ping pong.
Yes.
Oh,
I don't know if I'll ever really watch pickleball on TV, but I prefer that. So like, come on now, man. Like, I'd rather have you showing replays. That might do better numbers at this point. Anyway, that drove me nuts. And honestly, like, Fox's coverage in the Euros has not been up to snuff so far in general.
Nope.
Just what they're doing. I'm not even including Fubo anymore. It's not been good enough. Like, this is going to sound like I'm picking on one guy, and I kind of am a little bit.
But everyone is. Hit him, get him.
It might be different than who you think, Aaron.
Oh.
Landon Donovan got rushed into the booth, man.
Oh, okay, that's not who I was thinking of. But
good
fair.
in the booth.
Yeah.
He's not good. He's dry. He's monotone, and he's the color.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't be that as the color guy. And like, he's a U.S. soccer hero. This is not an indictment on him as a person, but you can't just jump into another career and just immediately be fantastic at it. That's just not how most people are. And he could be a good broadcaster, but you threw him into the like World Cup and Euro Cup booth immediately. He's not ready. He's actually somebody who should be calling MLS games. He should be calling USL games. He should be, calling maybe even college soccer. I don't know, just because you got to get reps in. And he just also, man, this is going to sound a little more personal. The hair's the losing battle. It's time to just shave it, my friend. It's time to shave it for your own sake, because everybody online is just mocking you ruthlessly. Alexi, people who are bothered with Alexi totally understand. However, I'm kind of like, you shouldn't be surprised. He's at least consistent. He's always been this way. This is how he is. You shouldn't be surprised. His Copa picks, like having the U.S., and we'll have our own here shortly, but like having the U.S. in the final, and he's putting all the CONCACAF teams like through to the knockout stage. Like, he's a homer, man, but that's just what he is. Like, he is what he is. Is he annoying? Yeah, but like, I don't know. I can at least put up with someone who I'm like, he's always that way though. So And Americans kind of have an inferiority complex when it comes to soccer, which I understand. And so he kind of almost balances that a little bit. So in some ways I can kind of put up with him, especially because he's not calling the game. He's just analyzing. So it's fine. But it's just, I don't know. I hope the Copa coverage is better. Maybe they saved their A teams for that. I like Chiellini and some of the international people they put on, like analysts, but their focus as a network, as a company on the tournament itself has been totally lacking. I never thought I'd wish for ESPN to take something over, and maybe they screw it up just as much now. But when they used to cover it, I thought they did a wonderful job. And everything was always on ESPN or ESPN2. There was never anything, no paywall. Maybe they put it on ESPN Plus, probably. I don't know.
Right. And I hate that at this point, there's so much on ESPN Plus that's like, I actually think that I actually get the value out of ESPN Plus.
It's better than Fubo.
Yeah.
It's a totally different thing. At least ESPN Plus is like ESPN's thing. Anyway, we're getting off on a total rabbit trail, but like, do better, Fox. Like, you literally hosted the World Cup. Like, you want these television rights, and every comment, I mean, every post you make about the tournament, people are screaming about like, what on earth are you doing with this tournament's coverage?
Yep.
And obviously, only Americans are stuck with it because Fox only owns the rights in this country. But anyway, a mess. The games have been wonderful.
They have.
Very entertaining.
A lot of goals.
Lots of goals. Like, really, really fun games. That Romania-Ukraine game, since I did get to watch it with that free trial, was actually brilliant. First goal in that game might end up being the best goal of the tournament. I mean, just a rocket. Hopefully Ukraine can bounce back. I think we're all hoping they can have a good tournament. So anyway.
Yeah, well, how about the tournament that's coming up on Thursday? If you are not satisfied with the 9 a.m., 12 a.m., 3 p.m. games on the Eastern time, people, great news. There's going to be a game or two more in the evening. So if you really hate your family and friends and you're like, gosh, how can I spend less time with them? Then you're in the right time of year. So
if you're ready to be angry at 6:30 a.m. in America, have we got the show for you?
It's about right. So Copa America begins on Thursday. The betting odds favorites are Brazil and Argentina. That was going to be my pick. And then I'm like, okay, but who are the favorites? And then I saw that those two were by far the top favorites. I'm like, okay, I can't do this. This is lame. Even though it's maybe a real possibility it would work well. I think they would line up in the bracket. No issues there unless maybe one of the teams somehow doesn't win the group. Anyways, very similar to the Euro Cup and how it works, with the exception of there are 4 groups instead of 6. So there's 16 total teams. 2 teams advance from each group. There's no third place thing you got to worry about. If you are a team like the US, you get top 2 in your group, you advance to the knockout round, which there's only 8 teams that make the knockout round. So if you win your group or get second, you're in the quarterfinals. So really, get first or second in your group, win 3 games. That's all it takes. Now, all it takes, I'm making it sound like it's easy. It's not. The Colombia beat us 5-1. So, we'll see how the US does in their group. I'm going to say that Uruguay beats Argentina. I wanted a little bit of a dark horse pick. I'm sure it's going to blow up in my face. They're going to get 0 points in their group, almost certainly, but I'm being slightly sarcastic. But we'll see. I do think Argentina does well, but I wanted to throw something spicy in there. Could I name a single player on the Uruguay team? No. But that probably means my pick's going to be better.
See, this is why, and Aaron, I have to assure you, I was not looking at you when I made my picks. Because I have Argentina over Uruguay.
Oh, nice.
And I picked Argentina because I'm like, this seems to be a favorite, from my knowledge of Argentinian football.
Yep.
And I'm like, you know what? I checked the bracket to make sure I wouldn't accidentally do like a Mavs over the Nuggets thing again. And I'm like, let's just see let's just go Group C. Who's in Group C?
Yeah.
Uruguay. I've not thought of that country in a while. That's a good one. Are they well favored enough to where this isn't a stupid pick?
Yep.
Yes. Fine. Boom. So sorry. Sorry, Uruguay.
Yep.
You're going to, I don't know, somehow get negative points.
Yeah.
No. They're favored to win Group C, which is the same group as the US.
Heck yeah. I'm so good at this.
This also is simpler to pick as far as the knockout rounds compared to the Euros, as Aaron mentioned, because there's no third place teams. That can throw a wrench in just who gets placed where. You have no idea what side of the bracket you're on in the Euros. In Copa, you know exactly, because the top team in Group A will play the second place team in Group B, and inverse. Top team in Group C plays the second place team in Group D. Like, it's just clear cut. You know what side of the bracket you're on already. So I, just for the US 6 fans, that means the US is going to, if they get through, I'm not assuming they should, but if they get through, they are most likely playing Brazil or Colombia again.
Yikes.
No matter whether they finish first or second, they are most likely and almost guaranteed, in my opinion, playing Brazil or Colombia again. So that's fun. But anyway, my final is Argentina over Colombia. I love this Colombia squad. I think they're really underrated. This is not an overreaction to them beating the U.S. because I think the U.S. is average. I don't think the U.S. is bad. I think they're average. On that path, I have them beating Uruguay and Brazil. The bottom half of the bracket is loaded. You're going to hear a lot of, I'll just say it now, and I'm not even saying I'm saying it, but you're going to hear a lot of conspiracies of pro-Argentina because they put the U.S. and Uruguay and Brazil and Colombia all on the opposite side of the bracket of Argentina. And you would probably say the second best team on Argentina's half of the bracket is Mexico or Ecuador. And this is a bad Mexico team. So just if you're following the tournament, maybe people screaming about, you're going to hear a lot of. So my dark horse is Ecuador, though, because of that side of the bracket. I have them in the semifinals. Nice. So if you just kind of want to like, who might surprise some teams? Ecuador. I think they win their group. Semifinals, lose to Argentina. Messi wins again, though. Beats Colombia in that final. That would be a fantastic final. I hope it happens.
Yeah, that would. And by the way, if you are one of those conspiracy people, come on. Do you really think FIFA would fix anything? Do you really think that they would stoop so low as to, do something of that
His-
caliber.
Historically, one of the most scandal-free,
Mhm.
corruption-proof institutions of our era,
Yeah.
truly deserving its nonprofit status.
Would
True.
never do something to make sure the most iconic current player plays as many games as possible in
Mhm.
a major tournament. Would
Totally
never
not
do said
having
thing.
been,
So,
no one has ever been
Yeah.
jailed
not
because
saying
of this recently.
I'm not saying I believe it, but it is quite coincidental.
Mm.
Let's just say
Hold on.
quite coincidental.
Yep, Josh. Yep, we need it. We need it.
Coincidental, you say?
Quite coincidental.
Yep.
I
So,
always keep it.
if just one final
Get back
note,
in
if
there.
you are interested in our fellow North American brethren, you do have Canada in that Group A with Argentina. It is possible they can finish second. I don't think so,
That's
but they might.
My hot take's going to be Canada does well.
Yeah, Chile and Peru are quality squads, but they definitely are beatable for Canada. Mexico and Jamaica are in Group B with Ecuador and Venezuela. Again, that's probably your most wide open group, people think. Panama is with the U.S. in Group C, and you have Costa Rica in Group D with Brazil. So if you would like to cheer on our North American brethren in the competition, that's where they are.
Yeah, and that's worth noting too, because the North American brethren have not always been invited to this tournament.
Yes.
This is kind of a recent thing. Will it continue? TBD, but maybe.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Makes the tournament way better and more interesting, I think.
Agreed. All right, so we've talked about fantasy football punishments before on this show. It's one of our favorite topics. At Joe De Leon on Twitter has come out with what's a good way of putting this? A revamped, refreshed version of the 24-hour Waffle House experience. I think by now, if you're listening to a sports podcast and if you've made it like over an hour into a sports podcast, number one, thank you. But number two, I'm going to assume that you know what the 24-hour Waffle House punishment is. You have to sit in a Waffle House for 24 hours. Every waffle you eat takes off an hour of your punishment. This is the same thing, but this is McDonald's. But it's kind of complex. This man, and he's got a picture of it here on Twitter. I'm staring at it right now. Has a breakdown of what you can eat on the McDonald's menu and the corresponding minutes that it takes off. So there are breakfast items on this list. So presumably you would start your 24 hours when you wake up in the morning. Now, a big breakfast with hotcakes, I actually don't know what's all involved in the big breakfast with hotcakes, but that is the most significant item on this list. That takes 2 hours off your time, but I'm assuming there's a lot in it. Just as a reference, if you are kind of a traditional Egg McMuffin kind of guy, 30 minutes off. If you like your sausage McGriddles, that's also 30. Throw some cheese in there, 45. Your sausage burrito is also 30. A hash brown is only is 25 minutes off. I actually think I could do some damage hash browning my way out of McDonald's.
Yeah.
But at some point, the breakfast menu ends. And now you are faced with the rest of the menu. A Big Mac is worth 45 minutes, which seems like you don't want to try Big Mac because a Chicken McCrispy is also 45 minutes. If you're doing this challenge, do not eat a Big Mac. That is dumb.
No.
The calorie to minute ratio has got to be well in favor of the McCrispy.
Oh.
Now, if you want to nugget your way out of McDonald's, 30 minutes per 10 chicken nuggets. Now, Josh, you have been on record saying that you don't think you could eat more than like 10 to 20 nuggets in any sitting, which is fair. You're a better man for it. So I don't know in this situation
now in a situation like this, I could probably
over more
Yeah,
time.
like a long time.
Yeah. There's also, I want to throw in here fries and sides. So you can do ice cream that takes 25 minutes. You can eat an apple slice for 5 minutes, which actually seems like kind of a hack. It's not that many minutes, but you could, I could
get that.
Fries per medium fries, 30 minutes. There's also, this is why I love this so much. He's got a miscellaneous section, and there's only one item in the miscellaneous section. It is ball pit, 5 minutes. If you can find a McDonald's with a ball pit, you can jump in it, 5 minutes off your time.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. That's fun.
You can't do the ice cream. It won't work.
That's true.
Not a real option.
So I don't. In looking at this entire list, I think I would end up taking like 6 hours off the time. But again, 6 hours in this case, if I'm actually taking 6 hours off, I'm there for 18 hours. Like that's the equivalent of eating 6 double quarter pounders with cheese. Like that's a lot, even over 18 hours.
Am I allowed to go just directly outside, but still on the property and run around the building?
We'd probably have to consult whatever council came up with this
All right.
chart, but
That
I'm
would-
willing to ask them.
Just for the sake of burning some of those calories.
Man.
Someone on Twitter did ask the question, do you have to eat one of the balls from the ball pit? And the answer was no.
That's got to be more. It's got to be more
Yeah.
minutes
Because at that point, you're
That
injecting numerous diseases into your body.
and calories.
Well,
I don't know how
true.
many calories a ball is, but it's some calories.
Uh-huh. Yep. Anyways, that's what I'm following. I'm keeping that in the back pocket for the fall.
Oh man. Speaking of things to look forward to in the fall, I'm going to get there. Hold on. I need to talk about some hot dog crimes. And specifically the national institution that is the Nathan's
Yep.
hot dog eating contest on July 4th. They have kicked Joey Chestnut out. He cannot compete. And I am furious. Johnny, thank you for bringing this to our attention in the chat. It's because Joey signed with a company that is not Nathan's. He signed with Impossible, which frankly, I don't hate the Impossible sausage. For being Impossible,
Yeah, sure.
it's not bad.
Yeah.
I'll give an Impossible hot dog a try. I don't care. I'll give it a shot. I'm definitely giving it a shot now because Nathan says you can only be sponsored, I guess, by nobody or by Nathan's to enter the hot dog contest. It's not like Joey's not going to eat your hot dogs, Nathan.
Yeah.
It's okay. But Netflix saw this and went, "Don't you worry, we're going to fix this." September 2nd, Labor Day, Kobayashi and Joey Chestnut returning for the first time in what is this? Like a decade.
This feels
Face off.
pre-planned too, Josh.
It does
More
feel pre-planned.
conspiracies.
More
Pre-planned.
conspiracy.
It was
I get it,
too
but see,
quick after
it
the
was really
banning to
quick.
have the Netflix announcement.
If you
Way
read-
too fast.
If you read the Bleacher Report article, they say that this is something that Nathan's has been struggling to deal with when it comes to Joey because apparently he's unmanageable with his hot dog sponsorships.
He's unmanageable.
He has I don't know, his writers getting along,
Oh,
he demands
no.
money for showing up, and I'm like, yeah, give him money. He's the only reason we watch your stupid contest. Then
I don't know. I'm gonna watch still.
I'm not going to because you know what I did? I then went to
I'm really interested. I want to know who's gonna win without him.
I'm gonna go to nathansfamous.com.
And they do have the best hot dogs.
They have really good hot
Mhm.
dogs. But here's the I'm so frustrated with. Give me Nathan's franchise restaurants. Let me have
They have their own restaurants?
Yeah, there's actually one 30 minutes north of me, turns out.
Oh man.
So we can go
They
there.
probably also sell a cup of fries and the lemonade with the actual lemon in it.
Yeah.
And just
I
a
bet they
gallon
do.
of sugar.
Oh wait, is it gone? Where'd it go? Because here's the thing. I went to Nathan's website and I got really frustrated because they have all these recipes. And I'm like, I'm going to see what a hot dog recipe is.
Oh,
And most of
dangerous,
them-
Josh. You don't want to know what's in it.
No, sorry, not recipes of how the hot dog is made. Recipes you
Oh.
can make with your hot dogs that you buy from Nathan's. I'm like,
Oh,
let's
okay.
just see.
All right.
I don't know what it is. Like a black-eyed pea New Year's dog. You put
Pig in a blanket.
Yeah, pick it a blanket, things like that. I'm like, I'll just see what they have. You know what they have? They have breakfast hot dogs. No, they don't.
Don't
You're
they have
correct.
the
They
Yeah,
have
but
regular
the,
hot
like,
dogs,
corn
but you would
dog
have for
version-
breakfast.
the
They have
corn dog
regular
version
hot
of them
dogs.
are pretty good though? Have you had
Start-
the corn dog
start-
version, Josh?
See, Here's the thing. I would totally down one of those. That's not what they're selling here. Breakfast.
I know.
Start your day
sausage
off
and a
with
pancake.
delicious beef hot dogs. These fun recipes combine all your breakfast favorites with Nathan's Famous, making the most important meal of the day also the most delicious one. They have things like, hey, here's a cool and spicy bagel dog. And they make a hot dog. It's already wrapped in a bagel, and you chop up the hot dog wrapped in bagel, and then you just make some jalapeno cream cheese on the side. That's
For
intermediate.
breakfast?
It's not big. Yeah, that's for breakfast. We can do the maple syrup dog. It's just you get a hot dog, you put it in a bun, and then you put maple syrup on it. How about the bacon dog? You just cook some bacon, you crumble it up, and you put it on the hot dog that you just made. These are all intermediate. How about the sunny side up dog? I sent you guys this on the tweets. What if you just put 3 fried eggs on top of a
Oh
hot
yeah,
dog?
that one was an
Here's
abomination.
breakfast.
The rest of these sound good, but they make me feel like I'm an idiot. Like,
Yeah, no,
hey,
that's the thing.
bacon
These are
hot
all-
dog.
There are
Here's
three
bacon.
There are 3 skill levels here: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. The loaded breakfast dogs are a beginner.
The
and
egg one
they
was
require-
crazy.
You would need to like make all of these things. You'd think the pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. You're correct. You should put it on your hot dog instead.
Oh my
Intermediate
gosh.
pineapple
That's
dog.
worse.
No.
You
That
put
is
a-
worse. I
you
never
put-
thought I'd say that. That's worse.
It
It is worse.
insane. And like all of these are like, hey, you want to do a chili cheese pretzel dog? I'm like, oh yeah, you wrap it. No, they make a wrapped pretzel dog, and you just put it in.
Josh, they didn't even do the eggs right.
Right,
on the
exactly.
breakfast.
Like,
You
I could do-
literally, they made them in the only way that doesn't work.
yeah.
There's so many different ways to make
It's
eggs,
so-
and they
yeah.
did the only way that doesn't work.
Now, to
with
be
sunny
fair, they
side up.
say make the eggs however you want in the recipe, but you've already screwed up by throwing 3 unevenly cooked fried
Oh.
eggs on top of a hot dog.
Hmm.
You call it the baked potato dog because it is simply bake a potato, and when you split it, just throw a hot dog in the middle. Nothing matters anymore. Screw you.
Uh,
Now that's interesting, but
Hey, how about the home style mac and cheese dog? You like hot dogs and mac and cheese? How about you put them on top of each other, you fat idiot? Like,
actually, that sounds amazing. I'm not gonna ding that one.
honestly,
That one
this one
sounds
looks
good.
This one looks delicious. It's called the elote dog, and
We'll
it's
see the picture of the potato dog.
oh, the potato dog is just insulting.
I want to see the potato.
It's beginner. It's a beginner. You'd throw it.
Well, yeah, because it's just a baked potato. You're not doing
Baked
anything. You're not doing
Yeah.
anything in any of these recipes.
I'm not adding. I'm not contributing to
It's
society.
just,
with
hey,
any of
do you
these.
want this thing with the hot dog? Cool. Just put it on top of said
Hey,
hot dog.
hey, you dumb idiot! You like tater tots? How about you throw tater tot dog?
mm.
You just throw 5
Now,
tater.
what
tots
if you made the
on a hot
bun
dog.
out of tater tot?
No, see, that
that's
would take it into
something.
advanced, and this is only an intermediate recipe.
It'd be
You gotta-
beyond advanced for these guys.
Prepare. Here are the directions to tater tot dog. I hate this. Meat and potatoes always get along. Tater tots and our Nathan's Famous. No, that's a match made in heaven. Directions. Step 1. Hold on, let me tell you what you need. 1 package of Nathan's skinless beef franks. 1 pack of Nathan's restaurant style hot dog buns. 2 packages of frozen tater tots. Directions. 1. Prepare your tater tots according to the directions on the package. I don't know. Step 2. Cook your hot dogs your favorite way. We suggest pan fried with butter. Neat. Step 3. This step depends. This is why it's intermediate, not beginner.
You have to make a
This-
decision.
This step depends on your preferred tater tot to meat ratio. Place
Hmm.
dog in bun. Place the tater tot pile of your choosing on top. I'm never eating a Nathan's hot dog again.
No, I will. I'll forgive them.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat one.
I'm just not going to eat it and add any of those other ingredients. It sounds too complicated.
How about this one? How about a barbecue Hawaiian hot dog skewer? This is the
No,
one that's
I don't wanna
actually
hear
a
it.
recipe.
Mm-mm.
You
Nope.
grill pineapple, you grill some jalapenos. A green bell pepper, because we can't be spicy. Green bell pepper, red bell pepper, pineapple, and some hot dogs.
That sounds awful.
They look bad. They're beginners. It's a beginner level.
Oh,
Intermediate people do not know how to stack tater tops. I see that I'm so
That
frustrated
too.
I can't talk.
Yeah.
Beginners
It's hard,
do not
Josh.
know. Beginners do not know how to stack tater tots on top of hot dogs. However, they would be great to skewer meats and veggies and then use an open flame. That's a beginner. Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
Grilling's the every person
Yeah.
activity.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Nathan's, I don't. Why? I had other things I was going to follow. I'll save them for next week. I'm too
Yeah.
upset at Nathan.
That's fair.
Mine's short and sweet, but sticking with the food topic, if you have been following the Euros closely, as I have, we have some European culinary wars going. Fan Fest.
Oh, it's really it's a really food centric episode.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Germany is honestly like, I mean, Europe is easily traversable. Germany's pretty about as centralized as probably you can get for most of the countries that often compete. So nobody's traveling crazy far for distances. So you have a insane turnout, which you usually do for the European Championship. So it's been awesome to get to see just, like the Netherlands, the Dutch always turn out all in their orange, which is amazing. I love seeing that. But this all started with some Albania fans, these culinary wars, going in at a bar, at a fan fest or something, in one of the German cities that's hosting, and just walking in front of some Italian fans and snapping spaghetti in half. If you're not familiar, Italians just lose it when they see people breaking the pasta in half. They think that's the wrong way to make it. They're incorrect. You need to. Who has that big of a pot, Josh?
It takes 30 seconds for it to like soften. You just spend 30 more seconds with it.
I'm gonna have to cut the spaghetti afterwards when I'm done anyway.
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry,
what?
I'm with Johnny on this, 100%.
Aaron's with me.
Yep.
The Albanians are right. The Albanians are right. Also, they had a fantastic turnout. It's Albania, I believe it's their first time in the Euros. Yep. And they, I think, had like 50,000 fans.
Amazing.
There for that game against Italy. And they showed up well. They scored in like 2 minutes and they ended up losing 2-1. But their game, they'll be tough out in that group. Anyway, this continued. Today, we had some Austrian fans breaking baguettes in front of the French. I, for one, was just slightly upset. And maybe this is why Slovakia won today. They didn't insult the country before they faced them. I thought Slovakia really missed an opportunity this morning and not just crushing some waffles in front of the Belgians. Hopefully this keeps going. It's just one of those funny, goofy things that the fans are doing. It seemed like time with it. Nobody's taking themselves too seriously. It's what rivalries and sports should be. It's really fun. Now I kind of want a waffle though. So
fair.
That's all I got. Maybe we'll see more. I hope we see more culinary.
I do too, because the video of the Italian fan as the pasta is getting snapped, falling to his knees like his entire family was lost in some tragic accident was just
that was worth it.
Unbelievable.
Could there be some food culture wars in Copa America? What would that be?
What even is our food like in the U.S.? Is it just burgers?
Like a burger?
Like,
probably a burger.
I mean, Germany can kind of claim that a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's kind of us more than them, really.
Yeah. We perfected it.
I feel like every Latin American country has a version of an empanada, and just by saying that sentence, everybody's screaming who's from different Latin America countries because they don't call them empanadas, and they'd all say that it's not an empanada, but it is a dough pocket that you fill with various foods, and it is fried. And I feel like every Latin American country basically has the same thing, but it's just a slight variation, and they put some different foods in it. So I don't know, maybe that. Yeah, who has the best one?
And we here in the United States refer to that as a savory pot pie. Not pot pie. Dang it. We in the U.S. refer to that as a savory Pop-Tart. That's what we call those.
Not a calzone.
Maybe, but savory Pop-Tart.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see. If Argentina on Thursday all their fans start marching to the stadium and just pouring maple syrup on the streets, then
Amazing.
great.
I'm in.
We've succeeded. This tournament's off to a
It'd
great
be an
success.
ecological disaster. They'd never be able to clean that up.
Oh man. Yeah, and that actually is happening in our country. So that's kind of unfortunate,
Yeah.
but I'm sure where are they playing this at? Kansas City. I'm sure they can handle it. They've got the infrastructure, certainly. So, all right. Well, we're going to enjoy the soccer. We hope you do the same, even if there are 2 fans that enjoy soccer out of our listeners. We hope you're having a great week. I've been enjoying myself so far. It's been great. Good Euro Cup, good Copa America is on the way. By the way, if you're just a real soccer sicko, good news for you. The Olympics pretty much start like less than 2 weeks after we get done with all this. Championship games for each respective tournament are on July 14th. So we'll be back next week. Again, see our previous comments on the NBA Finals and how and what will happen. Don't know. NBA Twitter has turned into a Luka. It's
Guys,
weird out there, guys.
Stop it.
It's weird.
Stop it.
We need to
Regardless
actually,
of whether or not the outcome,
Mhm.
regardless of what outcome, stop it. Stop it. Luka
Yep.
changed his profile pic too.
Yep.
Don't.
Yep. So good luck,
Please.
everyone. We're ending this show so we can actually go watch Game 5. Listeners, thanks
Yep.
for being here and have a great rest of your week.